Kravitz. If you have not followed his Triple H Horse Racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.
Good evening and welcome to episode 6 of Great Race Plays right here on the HHH Racing Podcast. I'm your very proud host, Howard Kravitz, along with co-host Pete Visco and co-host Paul Halloran. Thank you very much for joining us tonight as we are here, of course, to cover the late pick 4 this Sunday at Santa Anita Racetrack. You can listen to this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor. We've got a fantastic website as well, hhhracingpodcast.com. So check out our website, who is run for the most part by the wonderful Pete Visco to my right, who is sporting a very appropriate t-shirt tonight. Pete, I love it. Great race plays. Very nice. And of course, our tip sheet, guys, has been very good. 459 ROI before last week in 2025. We've been red hot. We do have Santa Anita on there as well. We cover the late pick 4 on our par pick tip sheet and give details similar to what we're doing here on the show. But also we have a lot of great information, and it comes out on Saturdays at racetracks. In fact, this weekend, ladies and gentlemen, we are doing a full card. That's right, full card Gulfstream Park analysis. Our first racing friends at Gulfstream for the Pegasus. So I highly recommend you check out our Power Pick tip sheet. Look below the video player in the description for information about the Power Picks tip sheet, which you can find on Patreon. You can see the website there below on the screen. Patreon.com/HHH Racing Podcast. Gentlemen, as we're filming live here on Thursday night, we just saw the Eclipse Awards. We're not really going to get into it. Paul is an Eclipse voter. Paul, you had a pretty good night. I believe you correctly predicted every single category except my buddy Sierra Leone. Congratulations on doing so well with your predictions. To the Dolphin Group, who I know that you know well, to Sean Clancy from the media, and Pete. I don't know if you were watching the whole thing, but Paul Halloran gets a shout out. His name said on the award show by Sean Clancy. Paul, pretty cool, well deserved, my friend. How you guys doing tonight?
Very good. Yeah, that's Sean's a class act. He did that last year as well. So I'm happy to have him keep winning them and keep getting shout outs.
Yep. And California well represented this year. Straight No Chaser wins Sprinter of the Year. So congratulations to the Blackers. And yeah, I sort of agree with you, Pete, a little bit. I mean, we're here to talk about to represent, First Racing indirectly, of course, and talk about Santa Anita. I personally thought that should have gone to Cogburn. Pete, you agree with that also, but it is nice to see some California connections, and National Treasure, of course, won as well. So congratulations to everyone who we're all winners, as I like to say. Anyone who's nominated is a winner, and ultimately the owners, the trainers, the game, the horse players ends up being winners on a night like tonight. All right, guys, we are here to talk about the late pick 4 Sunday at Santa Anita. The combination of some smaller fields and bigger fields. There is a stake, 6 furlongs on the turf. It's the Clocker's Corner. I believe it used to be down the hill. In fact, I had to do some research.
It was last year. Yeah,
this might be the first year it's not down the hill. I'm sort of curious to know why Santa Anita made that change. I have no problem with it. I just find that an interesting tidbit. But guys, let's go ahead and get into the pick 4 right now. The late pick 4 on Sunday starts in race 7. There it is at 3 p.m. Pacific Coast time. This is a field of 7. Again, we do not have morning lines as of now, which is not a problem for my astute co-host, or hopefully not myself as well. We also have a lot of people watching and listening. Really appreciate it if you are watching and listening right now on the HHH Racing Podcast X handle, or especially the Santa Anita X handle. Welcome to all of our great West Coast friends. You might want to switch over to our YouTube channel, hhhracingpodcast.com. That way you can get involved in our live chat. We've got a lot of people in the live chat right now, like Racing Downwind says hello to Tom, who's also in the chat. Thomas Espinoza. Katie is here. Jim Pilares. Jim, good luck to your Buffalo Bills, by the way, man. I'm going to be rooting very hard, as I think, honestly, about 80% of the country would like to see the Buffalo Bills win Sorry, no disrespect to all you Chiefs fans out there, but I think people would like to see a little bit of a fresh face there in the Super Bowl. Anyway, join us in the live chat. Guys, the race 7 is 6.5 furlongs. It's maiden 50, Calbreds, 4 and 5-year-olds. There's no 3-year-olds. You can see the field there of 7. Let's go ahead to our banners and show everyone who we like to kick off the pick 4 on Sunday. There it is. I'm going 7-3-6. Paul's going 3-7-5. Pete, very similar to Paul. He's going 3-5-7. Gemma, let's go ahead and start with your top pick, the number 3, Trotsky for Hernandez and Frey. He's my second choice. I'm guessing, I'm going to say 5-2 as a complete guess. When some people listen and watch this and listen as a replay, of course, you'll know the morning lines. We should play that game, guys. Guess your top picks morning line in every sequence, in every race. That would be fun. Paul, why do you like the number 3, Trotsky?
Well, someone has to win, according to the rules of the California
very
Racing
very
Commission.
ringing endorsement of the race, Paul. I love it.
No, I mean this is equals the lowest level they've ever run him at. He is primarily run in maiden special, and you don't love the 0 for 10 even with that, but they run him for 50 twice and ran a decent third and second. This is a nondescript field, the type of field, Pete, that I will be okay with going with an 0 for 10 horse.
Yeah,
as I'm usually not, and I'm sure you're thinking in a similar manner.
Exactly.
You want to expound on that, Pete?
Yeah, no, sorry. I was just going to say that, I mean, you look at it and we talk about that, but the drop from maiden special to maiden claiming is sometimes one that turns out to be fruitful. Like Paul said, this horse did run in maiden 50 and had probably 2 of the better races. And the good thing was they were here also. So it was 2 for 3 here at Santa Anita. So you kind of like that. And if you just wiped away, just from a figure standpoint, just to knock it down to base numbers, if you knocked away all the turf races, the horse is like low 60, mid 60 buyer, which compared to this field is pretty much at the top of it. So there's just a lot to like there. I mean, Frey is riding back up again, ice cold at the meet. You could see on the screen 2 for 45.
Yeah.
But the drop and just the fact that the one problem, and I think you'll talk about it from your top choice, Howard, is there's not a ton of speed signed on. So I think the hope would have to be that what we talk about, I assume it'll be the 7. Yeah, you can go to the time form real quick. You have to hope that the 7 sort of backs up a bit. If the 7 gets sort of a cake lead, if you're rooting for, say, the 3 or some of the other horses that are be coming from the back.
Yeah, and that leads me. You just led me right to my top pick, and I do want to show the replay a little bit of the December 28th race with Cotton Roaster, the number 7, who's my top pick. I'm going to say 5-1. Morning line. Again, I'm just completely guessing. It doesn't look great. And by the way, Trotsky was in this race also, which is why I want to show it. So let's go ahead and show the race. I will go full. Watch the 2 and the 4. But most importantly, guys, watch the start of the number 2, because this led me to this horse, frankly. The number 2, Cotton Roaster, did not get off to a great start. This is 6.5 furlongs, by the way. The race 7 is 6 furlongs, I believe, on Sunday, right? Didn't break right there. Is in between in a claustrophobic spot, but does have some speed and now rushes up into a fast pace. And look, I know he was 18-1, but this race was much, much tougher than he's facing today. And you know what? He hung around for quite a while. I mean, he's trying hard here. It's right now he starts fading. Trotsky is the 4, right, guys? I believe Trotsky's the 4. And at this point, Cotton Roaster is pretty much done, but I do want to watch do you guys see right here? He's already wrapping up. Meanwhile, Trotsky's asking a lot. And I only bring that up, guys, because when you see the margin of victory in the PPs, you're like, oh, Howard, how could you go with the 2 over the 4 when you see this kind of margin? But as you guys saw, and this is why you have to watch replays, the 2 guys obviously clearly wrapped up already, mid-stretch? And so I'm not saying he would have beaten the 4. I mean, that's a silly comment. But to suggest that he wouldn't have lost by 15 I think is fair, guys. You could have lost by 10, I don't know, and gotten a 48 buyer. I mean, it's not nitpicking to me when you talk about this kind of race. So my thought with Cotton Roaster, guys, he's going to break better. Al Segura is just going to try to wire the field. There's not a lot of speed in this race. And again, gentlemen, I mean, who are you really afraid of in this spot? So I'll go with a little bit of price in a race where horses just don't simply pass very many. And any thoughts on that horse, guys? The 7. You all have him in the mix.
Yeah, it's logical, right, Paul? I mean,
Yeah.
it's never a bad thing to take the horse that's going to go on top, because a lot of these horses just aren't good at, like you said, they're not good at passing other horses, and obviously they can't win races. So if you can get the horse on the lead, that's automatically on the top, and maybe doesn't get caught up the similar way as that last race where there was a little bit of a duel, it's a little too much first start, a little too much too soon. Last call, Paul, we should mention just for our buddy here, Paul, that I think we had on there.
I
This is
totally
one- I
tossed this horse out. This was no, I'm just kidding, Paul. It was.
I
not.
think I had that one. I think I went to the well last time on our show, and
Yeah.
he let me down. But he's one of those 11 for 18 in the money, but just can't get.
Yeah, there's a
Just
lot
can't
of
get that
offers.
win.
There's a lot of offers. I want to try to get drop downs and horses that are fresh faces, like my top choice is only in his second start. Let's go
Yeah.
on to the next race, guys. The next race, the second race of the pick 4 is race 8, and this is the stake race. Nice stake race. The Clockers
race.
Corner, 6 furlongs, $100,000. This is not down the hill. It's on the flat, going 6 furlongs. Like I said, field of 7. I think a very competitive field. I don't think there's going to be any like monster favorites in this race. Let's go and see our picks. Whoops, that is not correct. I'm sorry. There we go. I'm going 3, 2, 4. Paul's going 2, 4, 6. And Pete, my brother from another mother, my Italian brother from another mother, he is also joining me with the 3 Gaslight Dancer. You're going 3, 6, 7. Paul, you are the quote unquote unicorn here. You're going with a very good horse. This horse can definitely win. I'm actually very curious to hear from Pete in a little bit why he doesn't have the 2 in the top 3. I think I wouldn't say it's a 2-horse race, but I think Air Force Red is probably the horse to beat, especially off that last trip, which I'm sure the astute Paul Halloran will be discussing. Air Force Red, Paul.
Yeah, I think what's interesting is I think the 7's going to take action here, and I really don't like him, and I'm encouraged. Pete's got him 3rd, but no one neither of you have him in the
Is
top
that Hamlet
2.
Flyer?
Yeah, I think time form has him going to the clear lead, if I'm not mistaken,
Yeah,
Pete. Right?
that's what he
So
usually does.
Yep.
Yeah, Papadromo is 10% off this kind of layoff, so I'm against him. But back
Yeah.
to the 2. Yeah,
That's
I think the 2, has a decent class edge on not everyone in the field, but on a good number of them. 7 years old, is getting up there, but still is run decently. That's a pretty good second. He ran in the Eddie D down the hill. It's coming off 2 straight down the hill races, and I agree with you, Howard. I'm curious as to why they would change this race from down the hill to the flat 6 furlongs. But
Should we show the stretch run, Paul? Because I think it's something to watch for sure.
Yeah, he was claustrophobic, to use your word, Howard. Would you say?
You could say that. Watch the 1, 5, and 8, especially the 1 and 8. The 8's Gaslight Dancer, who's the 3 on Sunday. Air Force Red is the 1 in this race, who is the 2 on Sunday. Really, when you go to the stretch, Air Force Red was getting a very good trip on the inside, Paul. And then things just did not open up. Again, he's right here. I'm not going to criticize the ride. Sometimes it just doesn't work out. But he wanted to come up the inside. Let me freeze it. Paul, I've talked about this with you guys a few times. We mentioned on the show. As you can see, the rails are out there. Now, the rails look like they're only out about 10, 15 feet. But again, if the rails are down, that's more room to maneuver, right? And when the rails are out, it's not as easy to close up the inside. We talked about that on our Gulfstream show, Picks and Ponies, which everyone should check out, episode 390 for the preview of the last 4 races at Gulfstream for on Pegasus Day this Saturday. Just really studied and couldn't find ruin, and this is a complete nightmare. I mean, he gets through a little bit late, but at this point, the other horses get the jump, and it's pretty much over. I mean, he never even tried here in the stretch. So to me, it's much, much worse. It looks much worse than the PPs. When again, they'll just show that stretch run. I mean, JJ just had nowhere to go, and he's just wrapping up here. So the margin very misleading to me.
I agree, Howard, and I think he could be the top jockey out there. Well, not when Pratt's in the building, but in general.
Yep.
I think he kind of got caught a little there. If you watch it, Howard, he sees he's out of room on the rail. I think he thought he was okay to just go out one path, and didn't realize it was going to be a 5-horse conglomeration to meet him there. So, sometimes that in between move works, but there was no in between, as it turned out. So I think that this horse is going to take action, but you're right about it's a much different race than it looks on paper.
So, well, I mean, Matoria, Sumter ran a big race. Iradeo's a night. I mean, this race on Sunday is a much easier spot for this horse. I mean, a lot of these horses, I think, would be. I mean, Matorius would be 1-9 in this race on Sunday. Sumter, that was a bit of a surprise, but he's a nice horse. He'd be, 5-2, etc. And then neither one of them in there, Pete. So I agree, Paul. I think the 2's got a big shot. But Pete, we're going to go with the 3, and I'm guessing that we're going to get, I don't know, 4-1 ish on Gaslight Dancer. There's a few things I like, but I'm going to let you expound first on this. Richard Dutro trained Edward Maldonado ridden horse.
Well, it's funny because I actually didn't. I had written my picks down after I handicapped, and then as I was putting them in the email to send to you, I re-looked at the race and was like, you know what? I'm going to completely switch, and I'm going to go with the 3 on top. So it was sort of a last minute change. The one thing I liked since this horse moved into the Dutro barn, you could see on the screen here was sort of, aside from the one where lost the rider, obviously, you could see there was some steady improvement, and it was improvement upon the races that were before the claim. And there was improvement happening there. Then in the last one, it was going down the hill. Now, again, down the hill isn't for every horse. Not every horse takes to it the same way. You also lost Lasix for the first time, and we don't have Lasix here, but that was the first time off. So a combination of that, it was the first graded stakes race. Like you said, it was a much tougher competition. There was a lot of things conspiring against this horse, I think, last out. So here we're getting a softer spot. I think if you want to go back to Air Force Red for 1 second, the thing I didn't like, and if I think this horse will probably be the favorite, and if I'm trying to play against a horse that I think at least is going to take a decent amount of money, Air Force Red has only won. The last 4 races this horse has won, 4 out of its 6 have been wire-to-wire jobs. And I just don't think he's the fastest horse in this race, and he's not going to be run as potentially the fastest horse. And even if he does go, I know Paul doesn't like the 7, but I think the 7, if nothing else, has speed. And I think that's enough to test. And if you look at the time form definitely has, I don't know if it's going to be that, but time form has this horse behind the 2 leaders. And I'm looking at it going, well, if this horse only wins on the lead, potentially, I'm not that upset taking a shot against a 7-year-old who potentially needs the lead, and there's other speed to deal with, and who's going to be a low price. That was sort of my thinking, why I'm like, you know what, I'll just toss him and I'll go with a horse that I think had been on the improve and now is in a softer spot.
Yeah, I hear you. It's a valid point. You made a lot of points about Gaslight Dancer I was going to make. It was also his first time shipping to the West Coast. You said, first time down the hill. There were a lot of things. Now, he was the 8. He didn't run great. The pace was fair enough. I just think this is a much tougher spot. He's getting acclimated to Santa Anita. There is quite a bit of speed in this race. I think it's going to set up nicely for him. And, I like him in this spot at a little bit of a price. We talked about the number 7 Hamwood Flyer, guys, who scratched out of the race last weekend. That was run. That was on Saturday, I believe. The down the hill stake race, I think, was Saturday, and they scratched him for this spot. Guys, this is a 7-year-old off a year layoff. With Mike Smith, this horse smells to me like I'm just going to gun, and at the top of the stretch, he's just going to. I don't want to say fall apart and be disrespectful, but I don't like this horse at all. And I think that helps Gaslight Dancer, frankly. And there's other speed in the race, too, in here. By the way, you do want to watch the replay on Conquerable Keen, because the replay we just watched with Air Force Red and Gaslight Dancer, the 5 in that race Unconquerable Keen got a horrible start, and then they just sort of wrapped up on him. I'm expecting this horse to run much better. I have the 4, Turn on the Jets, in third. Paul, you like this one too. Let's just finish this conversation of this race with a guy named Flavien Prat, who, what happened tonight as we're filming here on Eclipse Award night, Paul? Paul is
You're
muted.
on mute, Paul. You're unmuted away.
Sorry, he picked up his first, and that was a very predictable result, and good for him. He certainly had one of the best years in recent memory. I
Yes.
just think this horse is very consistent, Howard. This was kind of a board pick for me. Probably be a B type horse in a horizontal grid, but pretty consistent. Has hit the board in graded company, and it's hard to be an upgrade off of JJ Hernandez, but Prat off of virtually anyone right now is an upgrade.
Yeah. So look, there's a lot of ways to go in here. It's going to be interesting. It's a fun race, relatively small field, but we'll see what happens, gentlemen. Let's go on to the next race. The next race is race 9. This is a pretty difficult field and a big field. When I say difficult, I mean sort of confounding. There wasn't a lot of form in this race. I thought it was a bit tricky. Race 9, there's our picks on the bottom of the screen, is a claiming 20 down to 18, 6.5 furlongs, 4-year-olds and up, non-winners of 3. It's a big field of 10 in this race. And there's a horse, Pete, that you and I and Paul, wow. I remember you liked Mega Moon last time this horse ran, Pete, and had a apprentice jock and got a perfect trip and ran huge and just got beaten by a horse that I liked in that race, actually. Sorry, Pete. I know that was a tough beat for you, but it was a good prediction because I think Mega Moon was, we'll look at the price, I think was what, 7-2, 4-1, whatever.
4-1, not 9, almost 9-2, yeah.
Obviously, the horse can now handle dirt and now gets Flavien. He's not exactly a win machine, but none of these horses are.
No, I don't think if you're going to look at this and look for the ones that win a lot of races, but the couple things, and like you said, we liked the horse last time, and I don't think he did anything in that race to dissuade you from saying, hey, I think he could take to the dirt just fine, because he had a prior race before that wasn't as good. But I think getting back on there, a few things I like. He added blinkers last time as well, and it looked like it got him into the race, because the few races before that, he was a little bit further back. This looks like maybe it got him into the race a little bit more, a little earlier. So I like that. They're keeping the blinkers on. Again, you're going from an apprentice to Prat. So if you have a horse that you think could move up based on a few other factors, and now you're adding Prat to it, I don't know what else you would want from there. Now we're getting the third race in sort of the form cycle. He's the second time form late pace figure, and I think there's some pace in here. It looks like the pace could be hot. I don't think you showed the time form yet, but here you go. It's coming up
Your
on the
wish
screen.
is my command, sir.
The time form is predicting a hot pace here, and you could see where they have the 3 sitting sort of just in that second flight, or right behind that little second flight. And if you get that trip with Prat and you can get a hot pace up front, I think everything works out for this horse. It was actually going to be my best bet. I just wasn't sure about the odds. What did you think on this one, Howard? You assume this one's the favorite? I thought so.
The fact that Papadrone was not quite as hot right now as he was before, but with the presence of Flavien and that major jock switch and a 78 buyer, I think we're looking at the favorite here, actually, Pete.
Yeah.
I think we're looking
at 2 though, right? 5-2-ish, 3? 5-2?
5-2.
Or you think it'll get bet more than that?
Well, it might get bet more than that, but the morning line I'd say is more like 5-2.
True.
And it's interesting because time form's got this horse more of a little bit mid pack, but I mean on paper he might be one of the faster ones in this field. So we'll see. I agree with you. I have nothing to add. The horse switched to dirt without a problem, and actually it's good work since too. I think 2 works, I believe, including a bullet work. 59.
Yeah, you see that 35 and 35 and 4 and
boy.
Oh, wait, am I looking at the wrong horse? No, I'm sorry. I'm looking at the wrong
bottom.
Horse.
Yeah, 59 and 1 on January 12th.
Yeah.
And then a more of a maintenance work. This is a new claim, by the way, for Papadrone. I didn't look at his stat. Oh, he's 35% on the bottom of the PPs there, but that's not always
he's
accurate.
I have it actually. First after the claim on dirt, he's 28% win, 51 in the money, and he's 33% 33% wins first after the claim on dirt at Santa Anita specifically. So I like those.
While I go to
like
Paul,
those as
Pete,
well.
will you look up what the stats for Peter Miller trained, off Peter Miller? Or you can do that too, right? Obviously,
I don't know
formulator.
I don't think I can. I don't.
Yeah, you can.
Yes, you can.
You can.
Can you? I didn't know you
In
could
fact,
do
let me
that.
do it right now. I'll show you.
First after claim
Peter
from,
Miller,
I
and you
think
can
it
go
is.
to a little tutorial, right? Customize, and you go to trainer changes, and you go to
Oh, you're
first
saying
after
go to
claim
Peter Miller.
from.
Yeah.
Right? Right,
Sorry.
Paul? That's
Yeah.
what it is,
Yeah.
right there, right?
Yep.
Let's see. I'm just curious. I haven't looked at this. Let's see here.
Yeah.
13% it looks like when you claim a horse from Peter Miller. Not
Yeah.
great, actually, but the Papadromo goodness sort of cancels out that, right?
Yeah.
So
Yep.
there you go. Paul, you're gonna. We all going to 3 here. Let's go to the 9. Who need some help, guys? Here, hold on a second. Magic Account. I believe this is a pretty speedy gelding, if I remember correctly. On the outside, well, Pete, you got the 9. What do you like about the 9? And then we'll go to Paul's 10.
Yeah. I guess
Magic Account, Pete.
the 9 is odd because the race 2 back, I didn't get it. There was nothing that jumped out at me. A little bit wide, maybe that was about the only thing, but there was nothing that jumped out at me that to throw that clunker in. But otherwise, the horse is pretty solid. I mean, you see a bunch of seconds, then had 2 out of 3 wins, and at least from a buyer standpoint, they were improving each race and improving incrementally. So it wasn't like, hey, we jumped up some crazy amount and it was an outlier. So I like that steady improvement. I think could be, like you said, speedy, looks pretty quick. Maybe he's going to need to sit just a touch off and can do that from this post. And, Fresu knows what he's doing. So hopefully he can do that. So that was pretty much it. I thought he can work out a nice trip. And I think he's sort of the improving type. And if you toss whatever the heck went wrong 2 back, it's just a horse that seems to be getting better and better. So I think in a race that is devoid of a bunch of world beaters, I think at least you're getting one here who's lightly raced and on the improve.
Well, real quick, he's been working well. He's consistently been working well. There could be some upside still, Pete. I mean, he just turned 5. It's not like he just turned 8 years old. And you're wondering what happened 2 back. He was 4 or 5 wide into a
That's what I meant. He was wide
very
and
fast pace. So
fast pace.
Fresu stays on. I like that also. I've got this horse second. Paul, talk about Rogue Sun, and then we'll go on to the last race on Sunday for Craig Lewis and Kimura, who I believe is out, right? He's injured and he's out for a few weeks. So we'll see who's the replacement rider. This horse is one of the few horses that looks like they can pass Paul, and maybe it's going to heat up enough for this son of Misremembered to remember how to win.
Yeah, I think that this race is going to really fall apart, and I think the presence of the 5 Golden River shipping down from Northern California or 5.5 furlong races guarantees it. I think it's going to be a very fast pace. My time form friends agree with me, which I like when that happens. And Howard, I think you nailed it. I think I went into the time form, Pete, and I was just looking to see who was going to be way, way back, and I want to play that horse on the board.
Good point.
I just think it's going to be that kind of race. I think the 5 is just going to just really go. And there's other speed, as you guys pointed out. I think the speed in general, but I think the 5, if I'm right, is going to kind of be reckless speed. Shipping down here for the first time and stretching out half a furlong. So yeah, I'm looking for the 10 to pick up pieces, Howard, and hopefully get as high as second. I like the 3 a lot. I'm with you guys. I think the 3, Pete, I almost I actually did make him part of my best bets as the back end of a double. Well, but I don't want to ruin the surprise for anyone.
Paul, my only concern with Rogue Sun is he good enough? Now, you know how much I love a closer, and I especially love a closer in a pace scenario. I just feel like he's going to have to be wide, and he's already 7, and he's 2 for 4. Like, there's some negatives, but the pace situation makes me very interested. Obviously, I've got this 1/3, so I'm also interested in Rogue Sun.
I'd be curious on the odds there, by the way, to see if you can
Rogue Sun?
finagle. So just to see if you can maybe work out some sort of try bet or some sort of vertical bet with a horse like that you think is going to hit the board, but may not get there for the win.
Paul, with the presence of Mega Moon, I'm guessing we're going to get 8-1 morning line of Rogue Sun and probably go off around 6s
Well,
ballpark.
I was thinking the same thing, however, but the horses, remember, he won in this condition last time and was DQ'd.
Mm-hmm.
So horses like that always take money.
It's true. Good point. Let's
True.
go on the last race, guys, and then we'll show our best bets. We really do appreciate everyone watching, whether you're watching live or a replay on video or audio. I just want to again tout, if you're not familiar, especially on the West Coast, with our Power Picks tip sheet, they come every Saturday mid-morning. It has spot plays, ABC grids, etc. for the major tracks on Saturday, including a full card grid and information on Pegasus Day at Gulfstream. And then it also does have information on the late pick for Sunday at San Anita, of course, that we're covering here, even though the tip sheet itself comes out on Saturday. 6 to 7 pages of information, very inexpensive, very profitable. Let's go to the last race, guys. I'm going to bring our picks on the screen. This is race 10, and there's our picks right there. And here's the race. Main special weight, newly turned 3-year-olds, 1 mile, 60,000 is the purse. Again, the rails are out. It doesn't show it on here, but I think the rails are out 30 feet. At least I saw that on another race, so we'll see. But I do believe the rails are going to be out a decent amount. Big field of 12 here. We do have a first-time gelding, at least reported, the number 11, Broski. This is a tough race, and I watched a lot of replays here, and I still don't have a good feel for this race, guys, to be very honest. I'm going 2-4-11. Paul's going 4-1-7. Pete's going 4-6-11. Guys, I'm going to start, and the first thing I'm going to say, and you guys have done, whatever, 150, 200 shows, whatever it's been now with me, and I rarely say this, but I don't have a real strong opinion, and I also have to be honest, I don't love my top pick either. So I love the name, though. That's not why I'm going with the horse. Dettori, who was ridden, the number 2, Dettori, who was ridden by Dettori last time. He lost to Muscled, who's the 4, who you guys have on top. He didn't really have any excuses, guys. My thought here is that maybe Bob's going to pull a little more speed into him. He went 5 furlongs the first time. I thought he was too far back last time. He ran evenly. I mean, again, no real trips there. Maybe at the first Lasix, and maybe Bob's going to get him more into the game. I mean, he costs $525. I know Baffert's not exactly known for his turf routers, but De Jour was a nice horse, by the way, for Bob. I don't know, guys. It's Starlight Racing. Maybe this horse is improving. He's got to make up a few lengths on your top pick, Muscled. Again, not my strongest opinion. Pete, go ahead and talk about Muscled, Eclipse Thoroughbreds. I'm not a huge fan of 0-4, but the bottom line is right now he is the fastest horse in the race on paper.
Yeah, I don't like 0-4 isn't one where I'm going to get too worked up, especially because, once again, not to be a broken record, and I actually think this is the race where I switched. I think I misspoke earlier. I think this is the race where I completely changed my mind. So I was wide open here with you. So it wasn't the strongest of opinions either. But I thought this one, you had the race. The debut was horrendous. You see that. And then took a little bit of time off, came back, and then ran sort of one of those winning races where you get the lead and then you just get run down late. And then again, we're talking about a little bit of steady improvement here from a figure standpoint, from a result standpoint, just from a how the horse runs standpoint. So I liked all of that. So I still think we're moving forward. Lost the blinkers last time. Now we're adding Lasix. We'll see if that helps move the horse forward a bit. You're getting Rispoli back again. So Rispoli rode last time to a nice race. Coming back with him, so at least there's some familiarity there. Again, it's not the most convincing case. I just think it's a horse who's on the improve, and we haven't probably seen the best of him yet. Not that that's going to be anything super, but in this field, I think it's enough to get a win.
Yeah, and this is, of course, part of the late double, and might be part of the turf pick 3. I actually didn't look at that, but I'm guessing it's going to be because it almost always is the last 3 races. So before we get Paul's opinion, let's give a quick advertisement, guys, for 2 fantastic bets at San Anita. The turf pick 3, and I believe also in this advertisement is the It might be actually the late doubles on another one. But let's take a look at information about the All Turf Pick 3 at Santa Anita.
Play the Santa Anita All Turf Pick 3. The last 3 turf races on the card. $3 minimum. Player-friendly 15% takeout. Every race day at Santa Anita Park.
Tough way to end that Turf Pick 3, Paul, here. You have to spread. What do you like about Muscled? And why don't you talk about your second pick, who's going to be a price in this race, the rail horse?
Yeah, I did some stat work in this race, Pete. I know we don't want to take a lot of time, but I want to live up to your standards, Pete. And, the stat on the 3, I actually don't have one on the 4, other than I think he's the best horse, and as Howard said, the fastest horse. Yeah, I think it's that simple, Howard. I think there was some, Sadler is 22% with second-time starters, maidens on turf, so I give the 1 a shot. There was the 5 horse. I took a look at this pedigree on the first-time starters. The 5 had 2 Sibs win on turf, but Patty Gallagher's 0 for 33 with first-time starters on turf.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I just think the 4 is the fastest horse. I think the 7 will probably take a lot of money, Howard, with Pratt. I'm probably the 4 and 7 are the 2 top choices if we're going to predict morning lines, I think.
Really? I didn't think the 7, I didn't think he was that legitimate.
Oh, well, I said he's going to take money. There's a difference.
Well, I think you're suggesting morning line. No, are you talking about post time? I'm sorry, maybe I misunderstood.
No, I think coming off a 3rd with a decent number, going to Pratt.
Okay.
Not much turf pedigree. Authentics turf route is only winning 11%. I think I took the horse 3rd, but yeah, I think it's a wide open race. But if I'm alive to the 4, I'll be,
Sure.
I wouldn't say comfortable, but I won't be climbing the walls.
I understand. I looked at. I know Sheriff's almost never wins first. Is Tex the 11? I apologize. I think. Oh, he's the. Oh, Broski.
Broski's the 11.
Mistake there.
Texas
I have Broski 3rd, guys. He's slow right now, but he is first time gelding, an angle that I know Paul especially loves. First time Lasix. D'Amato's going to figure this horse out eventually, and his works are good, guys. I mean, his works on the on the training track there, which is synthetic, are really good. So Broski might wake up in this spot. I just don't love a lot of horses here, frankly, guys, and we're not going to be able to see the board before the pick 4, so it is a little bit tricky. Let's go ahead to our best bets for this pick 4 sequence. Everyone just give me 1 second, please, and here we go. Paul, let's go to you first. Paul, you're going to go to race 8, the second leg of the sequence, and you're going to go with a double 2, 4 with 3. Quick thoughts on that daily double.
Yeah, I thought as we talked about when we discussed the race, I thought Mega Moon was as likely a winner in the sequence as we discussed. So I have if I were playing that double, I'll certainly play it more with the 2. Air Force Red, the horse we talked about, than the 4. The 4 is more of a B, but I wanted to construct that bet around Mega Moon.
I like it. Pete, your best bets. You're going to race 7. You're going to show everyone your pick 4. You're going 3, 5, 7 with 3, 6, 7 with 3, 9 with very spready, understandably 4, 6, 7, 11, 12. And since I'm a math teacher, I'm not going to embarrass myself and make sure I get it right. 18,
45.
5 is going to be 90. $45. A $45. Oh, try to beat me to it. I had to talk it through, Paul, to explain to the audience, $45, and then you're also going to race 9, Pete, in Exacta Box 3-9.
Yeah, nothing. I mean, I don't need to talk about the pick 4. It's just,
Yep.
I figure we're doing a pick 4 sequence. Let's put
Why
one
not?
out there. And you can see I do like Mega Moon and that 9. I think, is it Magic Account? Am I getting the name right? Hopefully
Yes.
That's right. And then I was spready. Yeah, I think the last race is wide open, so I wanted to be able to spread there. And then I'm just going to do a simple. I was thinking the same thing as you, Paul. I was going to go with just Mega Moon as a win bet, but I I thought odds might be a little low on that horse. So I decided, let me just go with the exacta box until we see what the morning lines look like.
I like it. My best bet of the sequence, I'm going to go to race 8. I like the number 3 to win in that race. That is Gaslight Dancer. I think he's interesting.
I like that one.
I think he's got to step up a little bit, but I think he's interesting. I knew you would, Pete. That's part of the reason why I did it for you, my friend.
Thank you.
Then,
Appreciate it.
in case he doesn't win, by the very bizarre chance, Pete, that we're wrong, and he doesn't win, got to play that saver in second. And there's no freaking way that myself, or I would argue anyone out there, should bet a place. I mean, you're not going to do a place bet. So why not throw a little horizontal or vertical try? Excuse me. I'm going to play trifecta with Gaslight Dancer in second. I'll go 2-4-6 with 3 with 2-4-6. Very small trifecta, very simple. So I need Gaslight Dancer to come in first or second to cash. If he comes in second, obviously the rest of my try will work out, but that's a very cheap and expensive trifecta. I want to thank everyone for watching, guys. We have we have hundreds of people literally watching right now. Again, we hope everyone is staying safe in the LA area if you're watching there and you're recovering from the fires best you can. Again, on our Thursday show, which is called Picks and Ponies, we had an extensive show with Pete Aiello, the sister track to Santa Anita for first racing, the huge day at Gulfstream Park this Saturday. We covered it like a glove. Of course, our Power Pick tip sheet will cover like a glove. Highly recommend everyone check that out. And the last thing, guys, just to let everyone know, even though it's not Santa Anita Saturday, I think it's worth mentioning for our podcast. We have a big live show this Saturday, which I'm assuming if you're watching this as a replay video or audio, you're probably going to watch this before Saturday late afternoon. Live show 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern on Saturday, covering the last 3 races at Gulfstream Park, the inside information, the Pegasus Turf, and the Pegasus World Cup itself. Thanks
in the
for
Southwest,
watching.
right? In the Southwest? I was just saying in the Southwest too, right?
Yes, sir. We're also going to be live covering the Southwest Stakes at Oaklawn. Real nice 3-year-old prep with gaming for Bob Baffert from the rail.
That's a West Coaster.
Working lights out, apparently, and facing Patch Adams and Sandman. Real nice stake there at Oaklawn Park. For my wonderful co-hosts, Pete Visco and Paul Halloran, this has been your host, Howard Kravitz, episode 6 of Great Race Plays for this Sunday at the Great Race Place and the Late Pick 4. Crush your bets at Santa Anita. Take care, everyone. Have a great night. Bye-bye.
If you have not followed his Triple H Horse Racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.